All right, today on lolz, we got Ball Mania VI has been announced. We also have the payout structure to take a look at, and I'm going to get Brian's thoughts on what he thinks is going to become the 2025 best ball meta. Last year, he predicted scroll the F down. We'll see if he's got any ideas for this year. And also an interesting situation over over on ProphetX, the exchange, something that popped up that is kind of unique to its business model and how they, provide sports betting over there. I'm Pete with Bric. Let's do it.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us.
All right, Brian, NFL Draft Eve, your Chicago Bears rumored to be potentially making some moves here tonight. Are you getting excited?
No, but NFL draft is like it's kind of like the Masters or whatever. Something where you're always going to be like, yeah, what's going on? I at least want to know who picked who.
Yeah.
You're never not interested. If I get to that point, it's over, I think, for any sports fandom left.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. For some reason this year, I consumed way more mock drafts than normal, where I feel like normally I only care about the fantasy players, relevant players. This year, I at least know some of the interesting fits there, so that'll hopefully make it a little more enjoyable to me. But it should be pretty interesting for skill positions. Basically, if some of these teams kind of trade up to get these quarterbacks where there's this game of musical chairs, I think it could be fun. Basically just hoping for some action, some trades tonight, which sounds like it could be on the table.
Yeah. I'm hoping trade down, not trade up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I kind of hope they don't trade up for a running back. That just seems so Mike Ditka era football to me. But what do I know? I guess
I know. The more like I've read about it and how I think these teams are thinking is that it's like a pretty weak overall class, like across all positions as far as like blue chip prospects. And everyone's like, there's 4 or 5 of these, and Ashton Genty is one. And so now I think all these teams are just talking themselves into, why should we draft a not great player at a position of need? Let's just fucking take Ashton Genty. Our fan base will love it. And I just don't know if I buy the trading up for it either. But man, it sounds like some teams want to get up there for Genty.
I guess if it's considered a weak draft and you could trade up for it for much less than normal,
right?
Trade from like 10 to 3, I heard was the thing. Giants, Bears. It's like, yeah, that's going to cost you. Normally, that would cost you a shit ton.
Oh,
and how would you do that for a running back when you could just sign someone, or 3rd round, 4th round, 2nd round? You can get good players, and also like their faith in how strong a draft is.
I know.
Did you see that kind of semi-viral tweet? It was like the 2013 draft, how bad it was. Did you see that? Let's go over the I think it was 2013 NFL draft.
Let me pull it up on Wikipedia here.
Yeah, I might have the wrong year, but I think that's what it was.
Eric Fisher, Luke Joeckel, Deion Jordan, Lane Johnson, Barcavius
Lane Johnson's
Mingo.
like the only decent one, I think.
Oh, Tavon Austin, that was this year. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, let me pull this up here. Man, yeah. That is the thing right now. This is the last opportunity for just everything to be hope. Like all these guys are going to smash. Everybody's great. And in a couple of years, we'll look back and be like, man, there were a lot of dust balls in this draft.
Ansa, I remember that. How do you not take a Barcavius Mingo, though, when he's available, just on name alone?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tavon Austin going 8th overall to the Rams, did nothing his entire career. What other skill positions?
Booker had a good career, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he was a bedrock of their offensive line for a while. EJ Manuel, Bills quarterback, 16 overall. That was a bust. He was like a career backup. Tyler Eifert was like one of those toolsy tight ends that went in the first round. That
He
like
was
never
all right.
he was like what you'd want if you spent a 3rd round pick on a tight end, not like 21st overall.
Yeah, didn't they? I think they had a couple tight ends too, if I remember correctly back then. So he didn't get a lot of PT.
Hopkins was a hit.
Okay.
Yeah. Pick 27, second wide receiver after Austin, and then Cordell Patterson.
Wait, is that a good pick at 29? He had some touchdowns. I don't think he really did much for a 1st round pick.
No, and he ended up having, the second wave of his career where he was a really good kick returner, but he was drafted to be like the next Percy Harvin, to do a lot as a wide receiver, and he did not.
Yeah. That's funny. I thought that was Jason Elon the kicker. Jason. Like that turned out to be a decent pick even in the 1st round.
Zach Ertz, pick 35. I mean,
Darius Slay.
He's still going. Yeah, Slay was a nice one.
Pick.
Oh, this was the Manti Te'o year.
Oh,
holy cow. I forgot coming off of all of that. Yeah.
That poor guy. Got catfished so bad.
Dude, you know what's crazy about going to 2013 is this is like right on the fringe where these guys are aging out, right? Like DeAndre Hopkins probably in his last year, Zach Ertz probably his last year. Some of these guys already out of the league, Giovanni Bernard, Justin Hunter. It's like that shows like 12 years. Like this is getting close to about the max amount of time you can still be relevant in the league.
Yes. Yeah. It's also like, can you see really quick who the Brown, I guarantee they wasted that 2012 supplemental pick.
Let's see.
Who did they take in 2012 supplemental draft? You could probably right click right on that left.
It was Josh Gordon.
Oh, okay. No, okay.
Wow.
If he didn't have his pot stuff, that's actually a pretty awesome trade for a 2nd round.
That is like one of the most physically gifted wide receivers to ever play, who was just a knucklehead, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was man. How many times did you take? I mean, I can't be alone. If back then, I'm sure you were in like 10 fantasy drafts, right? Like with your friends and stuff in 2013, and you got to take Josh Gordon as late round pick because he's coming back, man. They're gonna reinstate him. And you're always taking Josh Gordon in like the 9th or 10th round or something. Like, think about it. If he comes back and he's only suspended for 3 games, you got a 1st round pick sitting there, and just never happened.
Le'Veon Bell was definitely a hit here. Had a really good career, but then you had some of the biggest whiffs.
I think it was mainly that 1st round that was so bad.
Yeah. 1st round is looks rough. I remember this year fondly because this was the first year I did my first dynasty football league. So I did a startup in 2013. And I always remember my buddy and I, we co-managed it, and we were debating between DeAndre Hopkins and do you remember the wide receiver on the Falcons, Michael Floyd, who got drafted, or the Cardinals?
Was he from Illinois?
Was he from... Let's see, where was he? He went to Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Okay, I knew it was around. Yeah, it's one of the schools around here.
He was a 1st round pick the year before. And he kind of had like a disappointing first year. And we were sitting there deciding between DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Floyd in the startup. And we ended up going DeAndre Hopkins. And we just, every year after that, we're like, man, can you imagine if we would have spent that pick on Michael Floyd, who ended up just being a total bust, and Hopkins, has this incredible career.
But it's deeper than that, I think. This is like, how they have that gambling addiction archetype of the guy who wins big on his first bet and then he's hooked for life. This is you, Pete. Like, with fantasy sports, you got that Hopkins pick right early on, and you were just hooked.
We had a couple moments like that. You were completely right, because then we had the rookie draft, and that 2014 rookie class was when all those awesome wide receivers came in. Mike Evans, Odell Beckham, Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson, yada, yada. And we were on the clock at like 1-6, 1-7, and we were deciding between Brandon Cooks and Cody Latimer. And Cody Latimer was this wide receiver that the Broncos drafted that like the film guys loved. He had good metrics. He was like 6'3", pretty fast. all this stuff. And we ended up going with Brandon Cooks, who was an actual first round pick there. And again, had a very long, good career. And we were like, God, can you imagine if in a fish in a barrel draft class, we took Michael Floyd and Cody Latimer? I never would have played dynasty football again. I would have been done.
Did you put your resume in right to the Broncos? Look at, I mean, I definitely know what I'm doing here.
Yeah. I've actually there was a stretch there where I was like adding a dynasty league like every year, and like COVID, everyone was doing dynasty startups. And I think I've gone like 2 or 3 years without adding one, which is good for my sanity.
What's your, I couldn't, what's your total, this year is going to be your total fantasy at home fantasy leagues you're going to be in?
Yeah, I think, normally with ship chasing, we have like 10 to 15, but it kind of doesn't count because we have Steph Miller manage the team for us. I'll probably have 4 or 5 total teams that I'm managing myself. Yeah.
What was your all-time peak? Like what?
Oh,
highest year. Not just any style.
Yeah, it was probably like right before like best ball blew up like 5 years ago. That was, before it kind of filled that void. I think there was probably a time where I had 15, 16 leagues where I just like would say yes to every redraft league, industry leagues or whatever. Because I don't know, when that's the only thing occupying your attention, like I guess I just started playing DFS probably around there. Mm-hmm. But before that, it's like a Sunday morning. Like I wasn't spending 3 hours like trying to tinker with my DFS lineups. I was like, I'll just stare at the waiver wire and think about these start sit decisions. I remember driving home on a Sunday. I'd done like this weekend thing, and I remember anxiously awaiting Evan Silva's tweets because he would do like, he'd like do this, I forget what he called it, but it was like his hunch on who was going to explode on a Sunday. And I'd always want to be like, is he going to say one of the guys that I have on my team? Like I wanted to get the Evan Silva stamp of approval to put them in my lineup. Like that's an era of fantasy that like, I'll never be able to get that back. Just that blissful enthusiasm for fantasy football.
It's like, that's your, like the guru that no one knows about. So you got this edge, Silva edge.
Well, I was just the same psychological thing that I now see so clearly kind of on the other side. Maybe you can call it on the tout side or whatever. Is like people just want the validation of what they think, or they want to see confirmation about someone on their own team. Like I would read fantasy articles and I would not read the article. I would just skim until I found my player, one of my players, and then read that blurb. It's like, how is this helping me holistically of knowing who's got? I'm just like, oh yeah, can I start this guy on my team? It's like, I didn't care about the rest of the article.
It's funny you say that because I noticed that about, and I've burnt out officially on Madden, by the way. So not really. Not, maybe I'll start when they come out with next year's, but I don't know what about my personality. I just get obsessed with something, and then if I'm not obsessed, that's it. Sorry, you're out of here. But I still watch some YouTube videos, and I noticed from the tout life you were mentioning, they always tout like a positive outlook on a player, on a new player card. They never like title it this character, this new Randall Cunningham is the worst card in Madden history. Yeah. It's always he's the best. It's broken. It's a glitch. It's always positive. And I'm like, there has to be a algorithmic reason or human being bias of they want to just watch the video of their favorite players and them saying it's good, confirming their biases.
Are there any financial incentives wrapped up in that where they're trying to get people to buy cards and they get kickback rates? So it's just completely objective.
It's it has to be, and they all do it. Okay. So it can't just be someone who's very optimistic or something. Like they all do it.
Because I've thought about that dynamic you're describing, like say for a rookie class for fantasy football. And this was back when I was listening to way more like dynasty specific content. I was like, it would be bad for business if you were a dynasty podcast and you're like, this class sucks. What is there to talk about? Like, just pack it up. Let's just come back next year. It's like, wait, no. You have podcasts. You need people to listen to. You have tools to sell. Like you want to get people stoked on like, here we come, this new crop. Let's dig into them, all these profiles. Like you're actually incentivized to say, this is a really, really good rookie class.
Okay. So then, yes, because they do have sometimes ads for like various like ebooks on how to play Madden or I don't know, coins or training sites or something. Okay. And so I guess from that perspective of like the game's stale at this point. You got to like try to bring some people back in. I guess, yeah, maybe that's how that is. Maybe there's an incentive there too that I didn't notice.
So should we all be worried about the youth of America now
Yes.
that you're no longer saving them?
Yeah, and yes, you should be. You should have been before, but now there's only so much one man can do.
Wow.
But even if I saved, 1,000 lives, Pete, let's just say 1,000, I saved 1,000 lives. It was worth it.
Yeah. And what was there a tipping point? The haters would say like, oh, you finally started getting beat by these children, this youth of America, and now you're quitting because you can't beat the game. What would you say to those allegations I just made up?
Play me heads up, bro. Heads up the roll, bro.
So now you're back in. I'm back.
I would still play. If it's somebody in our industry, I'll happily play them for money. But you know how it goes. It's always the actual pros like, I'll play for money.
So what do you? I mean, that you were playing a lot, from what I could tell. You have to have a lot of newfound free time at your disposal. What are you going to fill that with?
Like trying to be a normal human being and going to the gym every day.
Nice.
I admittedly didn't go to the gym much at all, and now I'm back. Now I'm back at it.
There you go. Yeah, I think we'll all look forward to your next move, and maybe someone can pull you out of Madden retirement here. Wanted to pull up. We got Ball Mania VI is launching on Monday, but we got a sneak peek or not a sneak peek. We got the full thing. The payout structure was announced on Twitter yesterday, which is pretty cool. And I think I'm writing in my newsletter tomorrow, the PO box. I was looking at Ball Mania over the years and kind of looking at how it's evolved and changed. And this definitely feels like an equilibrium of everything they've tried out, as far as like, let's get a $3 million top prize at like the expense of everything else and make it super top heavy. Let's do a ton of regular season prizes. Let's do one single regular season prize. Like, this feels like their attempt to find the middle ground everywhere. And you're always going to have some people who are like, I want more in the playoffs if I make it to the finals. And then you're always going to have some people who are like, I want more of a regular season payout. So you're never going to please everyone. But this payout structure, Brian, you end up getting $15 million total prize pool. $13.5 million goes to the playoffs. 1.5 million goes to the regular season. So a 90%, 10% split there. There's 16 six-figure winners. Last year there was 20, so moving in that up a little bit. 2 millionaires. First place gets 2 million. Second gets $1 million. If you make it to the finals, 539-person final, you do get your money back, presuming you max the contest. So $37.50 there for the back-end finalists. And yeah, 4x regular season min cash. So if you get in the top, 1,001 to, what is that? 100,000, 10,000, you get $100 back there. So any snap takes on this structure?
I think we did an episode on what we wanted last year, I believe. And I think this is exactly what we wanted, Pete. I could be wrong, but I think for our not criticisms, but just like how we would have done it last year, I think this is exactly. So I don't know how I can complain about any piece of this at all, as this is exactly what we wanted. So I like it.
And I've seen all, not all, I'm sure there's stuff I've missed, but I've seen like a couple of the nitpicks. One I've seen is someone wanting a better chance of getting to the finals. The math still in this one is like, if you won 50 max and you're an average player, I think you're getting there once out of about every 8 years, which is a lot. I still prefer that to showing up to the finals and having to compete against 1,000+ teams, which is kind of
10,000. That's crazy. Yeah.
And some people say like they just want the validate. They want to be able to say, I made the finals. I want that week 17. To me, it's like, if I get there, I want it to be more of a lotto or less of a lotto. Like, I actually want to be like, okay, I did the hard part. Now let's have a fun sweat kind of thing.
It's also better for like content, because like when there's 500, how many is it? Like 500, I want to say
539. Yeah.
539. like you can be like, hey, I'm one of the finals. You could do a show on it. You can go on people's shows. If it's like 5,000 people, it's like, okay, well, it's another little lottery. I don't know what number that is, but 539 seems pretty good. Seems like everything on here was a nice balance. You were kind of alluding to the top prize structure is life changing. It's still a huge number. What was the total prize pool last year? I think this is an interesting talk.
I'm pretty sure it was 15 million. I'm pretty sure it's the same, and they've just shifted some of it back to the regular season.
So the total amount of take is equal, expected to be equal to what it was last year.
I believe so. Someone in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's
so. That's case. A little disappointing, not on Underdog's end, but just we were hoping it would continue to grow, and they're not. So this would allude that they're not expecting it to grow.
Well, my guess is if Underdog wanted to make a bigger version, they could, but I think they have a lot of other contests and things that they also want to do. And I think they're constantly walking that tightrope of like keeping the fill rate for BBM, on a pace to span the entire summer while still providing people a bunch of, time locked contests throughout the summer as well.
Fair enough. Yeah. If that's my guess is it's also a little pessimistic on the total market size. I would guess there's some pessimism. No, it's not pessimistic. It's still huge.
Yeah.
The growth of it, I should say.
But don't you think you reach a tipping point for how much you can grow the contest while maintaining that element we were just talking about, where you show up to the finals and it's 539? Because you could continue to scale this, but the final size would necessarily have to scale with that growth.
I'm sorry. Robert makes a good point. Are we forgetting New York's not allowed anymore?
Yeah, but I honestly don't think that.
Cool.
So I'm pretty sure the number I've seen floated is that New York is like 8 or 9%, which is a fairly big part of their player pool. But here's my thought on it. I think it has way more of an impact on the daily games, right? An NFL Battle Royale week 3 or whatever. It's like, okay, you're in New York. The way Best Ball Mania works, where it spans a 4-month time frame, and you have tons of people who leave the state who are willing to enter a bunch of slow drafts, drive across the border to New Jersey or whatever, drive back. To me, I feel like that mitigates that for the season-long contest specifically.
What was it? And we could probably Google this really quick. What was it the year before last? The total prize pool.
Let me see, because I actually have this in my newsletter. Okay, so first year, we can go through this. First year was 1 million in prizes. Best Ball Mania 2 was 3.5 million in prizes.
3.5x.
Best Ball Mania 3 was 10 million in prizes.
Another 3x.
Yeah. Best Ball Mania 4 was 15 million, but 10 million for playoff and 5 million for regular season.
1.5.
And then, so they've settled into the 15 million. And then that was for BBM5 as well.
Yeah. That tells me that they think it's peaked. Right? Because if you graph that out, 3.5, 3, 1.5, 1, like it plateaus.
Yeah. But if you look at the overall volume, like all the side contests, like there were not side contests that have exploded. The eliminator format's very popular. There's weekly winners, there's sprint, like a lot of stuff. So I think they've decided, like, I do think if they decided like Best Ball Mania is all we're going to offer, like, they could make it. They can make it way bigger.
Well, I mean, I think we'll see based on how early this fills too. But it'd be much harder to get these numbers. Maybe them, and it wasn't as hard to get them. But then, what are the total numbers of puppies?
Right?
Everything that leading up to before Battle Royale the season start.
That has been just anecdotally, and someone could check it, but like that has been like an exponential curve of like nothing adding. Last year, adding new formats. It was like 2 years ago, added weekly winners. Last year, they just keep adding all of these different variations and time locked, contests throughout the year.
And it makes sense too that like just from my experience in doing this type of stuff for so long with poker and DFS and basketball, like you have like the top heavy players, and if you don't give them a way to to gamble, you're not going to get the rake out of them that you otherwise would have in poker or DFS.
Right.
So that does make some sense to cap it and provide more puppies and stuff like that.
For sure. And that's kind of what I like about this payout structure. And like I said, there's some of the tournament bros, myself included. Like if I was making, and all I cared about were my own interests, I would basically have no regular season prizes and be like, let's just get it all to week 17 and let's just see whoever gets there. Everybody gets paid out. Let's have 25 people who win 6 figures, whatever. But the way I watch other people play this contest, how they sweat this contest, where they're watching it every week. They want to see how many teams they're advancing. They're going to want to see for each one of those advancing teams, that's $100. That's $100. Like you look at your expected winnings. And again, I'm not saying this is, logical or even optimal of how you play the contest, but it is an objective fact that there are a lot of people that enter this contest and enjoy that aspect of it. And I think anything that's going to encourage people to approach the contest differently, especially if I think it's suboptimal, is awesome. Like if you want to optimize to just get out of the regular season because you want to see that $100 min cash in your account, I think that's a really elegant way to appease those people while still making the contest potentially softer for the tournament bros who are willing to only care about the playoffs. So I think it's perfect. If anything, last year was holy cow, there are no regular season prizes. Week 17 is quite literally all that matters. People still drafted as if advancing out of the regular season was the most important thing. But I like tossing that bone to them, 10% of the prize pool.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, is it 25 buy-in again?
Yeah.
Okay. That's another thing they could have done. I mean, with every other industry increasing prices, I'm kind of surprised they didn't. $30 or whatever could have changed. So that's, and I think because what was the buy-ins? Has it always been 25? I think it was 20, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure it's always been 25.
It's always been 25?
Yeah.
I wonder I bet they talked about that, moving it up to 32 as well. And
yeah,
could have done that.
Right. That would, and they've experimented with that with the battle royales, right? When we had that show, we were could we get it back up to a 50K? And it was all right, let's move it from 5 to 7. The people who didn't want to pony up 5 probably don't care. And if you're paying 5, you probably don't mind doing 7.
The variance in these things is so ridiculously funny too, because the poor guy who last year took first during the regular season got zero. Mathology. Yeah.
Was it
Mathology?
Yeah, it was Mathology. He had the goddamn nuts. The absolute nuts. It was 1 year before he would have gotten 500,000 if he had that.
This year,
this year it's 100,000.
Oh my God. The variant.
He said that was me.
My bad.
This is what I will say. Of all the people, the karmic gods were on Mathology's side last year. He qualified for the dog bowl on, remind me in the chat how many teams you did Mathology, but he was doing small volume. Got to go to Dallas, had an awesome team. So I think there was something in the best ball gods, will that wanted to, reward Mathology for his team.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully did he win that? I don't think so.
He finished in the correct. I think it was top 5, top 7. He was up there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
At least he got something.
Yeah.
That's I mean, it's still kicking. I mean, it's the same. The other one is if you win 1 year, you get 3 million. The next year, you only get whatever 1 million.
Yes.
The year before is what was first last year?
First last year was 2 million. It's the same. Yeah. I think where it got taken off last year, I know there were 20 teams that got 100K. So you see here 16 through 20 is now 70K. So there's, a good chunk that came off. I assume it's kind of in this middle range where we lost some of the week 17 payouts.
Okay. So was it 3 million the year before then?
Yeah, Fareed, BBM4 won 3 million. He timed the perfect year because Karain was 2 million the year before that. Liam was 1 million.
1
Herzig
million.
was 250K the first
Oh,
year.
so yeah. So
Yeah.
Herzig's got to just run hot at the right time, not just against Portnoy.
Thank you. The chat reminded me last year was 1.5.
Okay, I thought it was a little bit lower.
My bad. Yeah, 1.5 here for LGR EW E5. Karain was 2. Yeah, so it went down.
So
last year, yeah,
2, 3, then 1.5 back to 2.
Correct.
That's a lot, and you can't control any of that. Like literally, don't control that.
No. So yeah, I think they did a good job with it.
What was your once in 8 year stat? That was in. I want to
just the so like I think it's just doing the expected math on obviously 2 of 12, and then I believe it's 1 of 13, 1 of 16, and then 539 person final. So if you do expected advance rate, I believe it comes out to about once out of every 8 years you would be expected to get a finals team.
A 539 or whatever. 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Once in every year. Okay. That's actually not even that. It's not even that bad.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
Or, you know, like a favorable way to say it is like, say you and a friend who were going to each, you know, max it, decided to swap equity on it. You guys would have a 25% chance of getting a team to the finals. You know, like,
yeah,
you know, that I'm trying to stretch it to make it seem a little more realistic. It's still very hard. It's very hard.
Yeah. For normal people, they're probably like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. But for like
even
yeah,
dirty.
Yeah, but that's,
dirty.
I was gonna say, but Dan understands. Like
Yeah.
if you're coming from DFS, you're like, that's not bad at all. Like you're never going to win $1 million, you know, anyways in DFS. So like, play 150 every week and you never win it. Yeah. So once every 8 years, making the finals. I don't know. That doesn't seem that bad.
Well, and then again, that is assuming you are a perfectly average player. Say you're better than the field. Then
counting for rake.
That accounts for rake. But let's say you're better than the field. Like tick it up a few percentage points. Let's say you want to take a super exploitative stance and you have a super high advance rate because you had a ton of Barkley and Derrick Henry last year. Okay, let's up it a little more. Like you can probably, you know, at least boost your expected thing, you know, if you really want to take some specific angles.
Okay. Yeah. Well, of course. Yeah. Depending on how, I mean, just even being EV neutral, accounting for a rake, you're better than average because you're paying for, you know, I mean, somebody else is paying the rake for you. But like, that's like, you're pretty good. Like, you know, doing that. I'm not saying people can't do it or whatever, but getting to that point means you're probably pretty good. And once in 8 years is actually not. Yeah, you need to max enter, of course. Yeah. That's another thing they could do is change the max entries since there's so many. I don't think there's any law that says 150 is the max, but maybe on a state level there is these days. That this is definitely about like one of those laws that I've been saying I wish they would change at the federal level, which is you have to announce the amount of people that will be in it max beforehand. You can't change it, which is not how we do it in poker. And it would be so perfect for this. You just release this, you know, or whatever the structure they want. And if it goes over, it goes over.
But you guarantee the min.
But you guarantee this.
Yes.
They got to guarantee this anyways.
Yes. I know. That'd be really cool. Yeah. And then you could, it'd be awesome too, because then you would envision some scenarios where then you don't have to quite worry about the pacing of the contest as much. You could probably have, it would solve a lot of things at the end because Underdog wants it. Like it's really fun when it fills like right near lock, you know, like it's a day or two before. And, you know, people now making content, people are going to come out here and say, I'm going to stream 150 drafts. It's nice to be able to plot that out and not have to be like, oh shit, I have to do 50 drafts in 3 days or whatever.
What's your prediction on when this gets filled?
I think Underdog, I said this last year, they have the levers that they can pull to slow down or speed it up. So I will continue to bet on it filling within a week of NFL Week 1 kickoff.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
And think about,
didn't it fill earlier than that last time? Or
someone in the chat can remind me. I think it was I think it was close to what, 4 or 5 days before lock.
I want to say it was definitely early.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't up to the wire. That's for sure.
I'm kind of surprised they don't use it as a loss leader. Like, what do I know about the dealings of the insider, of their company? But like, it just seems like that they could make this even bigger. And if it doesn't fill, like whatever you pay the rake, but it's marketing.
I think the other part of it, though, that's cool with what we've seen with the flatter payout structures is an acknowledgement. There's long been this belief, and maybe it does pertain to daily contests. Maybe DraftKings has better data for them on a milli maker, or that their fill rates are better when they have less smooth and they guarantee a really massive top heavy prize. But I think Underdog has proven we can scale back the prize, keep the contest a similar size, and it will still fill. Like this contest is not filling because there's 3 million to first or 2 million or even 1.5 million. And you see that in other stuff like FFPC's contest, incredibly top heavy, DraftKings top heavy. I think this is cool that we've seen like, hey, good tournament structures can still fill, and you don't need the marketing nugget of like, well, this year it's 5 million to first and everyone else gets fucked. It's like, no, this is going to fill with a nice structure.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of just had this, I don't know, a little bit of a dream of like DFS or best ball be having an option that really is kind of like the lottery, where the people, the vast majority of people who play the lottery know it's a losing bet. Like, I know there's a percentage of people who are like, no, I can beat the lottery, but like, you're doing it because it's such a massive payout.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've known highly intelligent people when the prize pool gets so big, they go, oh, I'm at the gas station. Give me one of the tickets, random ticket for the, $1 billion prize pool or whatever. And I was hoping it could like get like one thing on DraftKings, one thing on best ball could be the yearly lottery thing that just any sports fan is like, oh, did you get your ticket in, this year into the $50 million, 100 life, literal gen wealth, changing prize pool. And then that would be some like marketing for actual, I mean, it's all, these are all skill contests, but it's hard to realize your edge in this hugely variant format. So like, and then maybe some percentage of them will play the puppies, or some of them will play DFS, etc.
Yeah. I think maybe where the disconnect is there is just how much the drafting is still like an entertainment product for most people, where it's like, it almost is less of the lottery mentality, even though in reality, I agree with you. Like, that's truly what it is. Like, it's an advanced lottery system, but people are getting so much entertainment equity. Like, when you go buy the lotto ticket, right? The only entertainment equity you're going to get is maybe the balls being read on television. You're going to get like the hope of that ticket for like a day, but getting like a concrete 45 minutes of like stimulated entertainment equity, it almost, I think that's kind of why people participate in it, even more than the aspirational, oh, what if I careen this and win 2 million?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And when I say lottery, I'm like, that's I don't know, extreme number. I'm saying just like whatever the highest number that is theoretically possible to fill one of these things in DFS or best.
Yeah.
Look at that number. Maybe it's 15 million. Maybe it's, maybe it's 50 million. Maybe it's 100 million. I don't know. And you're right. It's a lot lower than the Powerball. And you can't just go, give me a random team and I'm out of here in 2 seconds. And they'll never do that. Right. So
yeah,
we don't want them to. We want it to be a skill game. But whatever that big number is, I have always wanted like 10 million to first or something. Like, I feel like maybe those days, maybe with sports betting, that's not possible anymore. But I've like at the height of DFS, we were getting close. We had some 5 millions.
Yeah, with the like world championship.
I mean, A. Jones won 5 million.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And maybe there would be some, like, as the game does grow, like maybe there is, right now when Underdog does $100 or a $500 tournament, it's much smaller. But maybe there is a point to the game would grow that you could do, like, could you have Big Boy Mania that was $100 entry and get up to a bigger prize pool because you're just like, hey, I'm going to start getting more and more of the whales and people coming into this game who are willing to pony up $100 into like a 50 max contest or something. Like, is that where you could start to really experiment with some bigger numbers?
And they tried that with the Portnoy thing at DK, kind of.
Yeah.
In a roundabout. That's why like everyone was upset that the pros who got to play in that got that like edge of being in a pod with, amateurs. And obviously that's true. That is an edge, but aren't you also happy that those guys are bringing marketing and attention to this skill game that you make money off of? And they could like beat them, luck box into the finals with you. And now you got some donkey team there.
Yeah.
That's drawn dead in week 16.
The thing is, it's like, I think with those guys, so Portnoy and Big Cat, they did like 1 or 2 best ball drafts, as part of their deal, but they didn't get the bug. They weren't grinding it. They're too rich. They have too many other things going on. For that like influence to actually work, it would have to be like a series, and it would have to be like, hey, every week Big Cat or Portnoy is doing a private draft with the Stoolies. And that's how it's like, oh, then I want to be in this weekly draft with them. Basically doing like what we do with our very, very small communities, them doing it like, yes, could they pill their entire audience on best ball? Absolutely. If they wanted to, and they had the interest in it. But I think like the casual thing, it's like, I don't actually know if that ended up growing the game at all last year.
No, but I'm saying like the complainers didn't know that. Like you didn't know what the outcome was going to be. Like it could have grown the game.
It could have.
And so Herzig got some EV being in the donkey pod. But maybe that EV gets passed around eventually. You're right. It's probably not. And it's unfortunate. I bet DraftKings, part of it's because probably DraftKings doesn't give a shit, because if they did, I bet in the deal with Barstool, they could have been like, hey, and you guys do a best ball pod and a DFS draft once a week with your employees or something.
Yeah. And it is hard. Like what I'm thinking through it, like from the content lens, and other than the draft itself for best ball, it is hard. Like, let's just take a singular league. How do you get people to care about a singular self-contained league, even of celebrities, even if it's a $10,000 buy-in, like throughout the entire season? It's like, let's check in. It's like the best ball sickos like seeing like where we're moving, but I'm talking about like growing the game. It's like, there's not a ton of intrigue there. What you'd really need is almost a best ball eliminator style contest where you have the entire office, the Barstool office or whatever. There's 16 people in it. And every week, one of them's getting chopped and one of them has a punishment if you get last place that week. So every week it's this big ceremony. Who's going home? Who gets the axe? What are they doing? We're checking in, seeing who gets to be king of the hill. You need something to string along the interest level throughout the year in a way that like a rotisserie scoring for 1 through 14 is never going to accomplish.
Yeah. That's like legitimate content. You're taking it up a notch. Yeah. I mean, I think it would be cool if they could play if people could play with them too somehow. So it's hard in best ball, right? Because it's like when it fills and it starts.
Yeah.
So it's harder to do that. But that was always a big thing in poker, I think, is when the ground you sat down at a table, like the waiting list went to like 100 instantly. Part of that is because people thought Negreanu wasn't good at poker, but also because they wanted to play a hand with him. But anytime any full tilt pro sat down at a table, like the waiting list went to 100. Can't really do that in best ball. Maybe you could.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that you just thought like a feature, like, I don't know. It would be kind of Big Brother-ish, and I'm sure a lot of people would not want to agree to this. But like, say I opted into this, that like when, and again, I'm not saying I'm a draw, but like let's just say I opted into basically displaying when I'm in drafts. Like if I'm on Underdog, it shows, hey, Pete's in this. Maybe there was even a way I could signal my intention, like on there of like, hey, I'm going to be in the next 5 Best Ball Manias, and then it's like, oh, like let me hop on the site. Like that there is something there of like, oh, which pros
you could have like
a
2-minute wait. So like let's say you enter, like of course you're gonna agree, or whoever the popular figure is gonna agree that they're gonna enter into this.
Yeah.
You say, okay, spending my $25, I click enter. There's a 2-minute clock for you before it starts, and then that goes live.
Yeah.
And then but no one knows what your clock is, so they're kind of randomly trying to get in to best balls, and then when your timer goes off, whoever the 10 guys are or whatever, get into yours.
Yeah, we need the Davis is online now signal. The problem is that signal would be around the clock. It would never cease to go away.
Yeah, Barnes YouTube. What was it? Why can I not think of his
Patrick Barnes YouTube? Yeah,
Patrick Barnes YouTube already has that. He coded that up long ago.
A private widget to bum hunt.
When he sees Davis go online, he is just throwing his kid in a crib and running to the computer.
He's got thumbnails to make for ETR. Just like, sorry, Levitan, the bat signal is up. We're bum hunting Matic.
What? He's outside, just drops everything.
Yeah.
Although he hasn't been. What do we got here?
No, Mathology's saying the 11 p.m. This has long been a thing. People who can fully choose when they want to draft those late night weekends is always a pretty juicy time.
Yeah, this is I mean, that's in like every skill game like poker, DFS even. I've had buddies go like, dude, if you want to draft catch games, you draft Friday at 11 Eastern.
Yeah. When really like you're widening your chance to find someone who is playing egregiously bad. Doesn't mean that you're gonna stumble into a room like that, but it can increase your odds for sure.
It probably honestly is a good idea if you can structure your 150 that way.
Yeah,
play when there's most people playing, like, because who's playing on a Tuesday at 11 a.m. Some guys are sneaking in at work, or when they're on the train or Uber on the way to their work. But mostly it's like guys who know what they're doing.
For sure. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you this. I'd seen this get talked about recently. There was this initial tweet said, honestly, play ProphetX. This is bullshit. It said, we're reaching out to let you know you've had a play canceled in accordance with our too good to be true policy. Your play on the series winner, Jets or series winner, Avalanche, was matched at odds that were a clear and obvious error here. And then he shows his Colorado Avalanche series winner bet. And as I understand it, there was a lot of people kind of piling in on it. And there was counter opinions. You see Joey Kanish here. You need some type of policy in place to prevent scammers spamming bad lines, hoping somebody fills it. He bet an obvious palp will always be some level of subjectivity, but the policy needs to exist and you won't be withdrawing anything and will still use the platform there at the end. But what do you think of this dynamic where, again, ProphetX, it's not against the house, it's someone else posting a line. And I believe they posted it in the wrong section. It was supposed to be like in a game section as opposed to the series. And that confusion led to someone accepting a too good to be true, as they've coined it, price.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That they're protecting the fat thumbs of a poster. Yes. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. But one thing that comes to mind is it definitely seems like they have an incentive to protect the posters, because the posters are what drive their liquidity more so than the guy scalping the error. What do you think?
I think it's tough. I think it's a legit gray area. And you wouldn't want the extremes on either side. You wouldn't want them policing every single thing that they don't deem efficient. Otherwise, like, what's the goddamn point of a peer-to-peer market? And you wouldn't want the other extreme where someone posts like an absurdly bad thing and someone accidentally like clicks it. On the other hand, it's like, should you be on the hook for, like, if you make a mistake? that bad. I guess, would you, like on these sites now, a lot of them have the like cancel button up to a certain amount of time. Like, do they have these similar practices in as safeguards against the fat fingering stuff? I don't know.
None of the other skill-based ones you do, right? In poker, you definitely don't.
Yeah.
And in DFS, you definitely don't. If you pick the wrong guy who has the wrong Max Muncy in baseball, for example, they don't give a shit.
Well, I would say, wouldn't it the comparable for DFS be like you accidentally registered for a $500 contest instead of a 50, and then you're able to dereg from that?
Yes, that's true. That's true. But I think if it's a head-to-head, you don't.
Right. The head-to-heads then.
So if you post this and Utica matches you,
you're stuck.
You don't get to remove it.
Yeah,
it's closer to this.
The site, Jake, one of the
best ball, you don't. If you fat finger some player, unless it's like the first round and it's egregious and they're going to cancel the whole draft for everyone. Pretty sure they don't give you any chance. They don't go, okay.
Yeah.
You get to pick somebody else. They definitely don't do that. They either cancel the draft or not, but
right. Yeah, it's not your home league where it's like, oh, I messed that up.
Let's
and
rewind,
we're gonna rewind it. Yeah. So yeah, Jake, co-founder, said the way the communication was handled was poor on our side. However, we and every other exchange believe it is core to peer-to-peer platforms to have this policy in place. The end goal is to have fair and liquid platform for all users. And then Chris points out, this is the original poster who is upset. I'm concerned for the arbitrage bettors, which make up a good portion of your users. How can they ever be comfortable arbing under this policy? There needs to be clear guidelines about what makes something clear and obvious. If you leave it up to your own interpretation, it becomes very problematic. I guess that's the other thing of like, how long, should there be almost like an approval screener on their end where it's like, if something's been up for like 6 hours, then you're going to deem that it's fair play. Should they have an internal system that flags things that are too good to be true and it never even sees the light of day because it's flagged before that?
Huh. This is really, it also kind of like illustrates why the thing I've been saying about how the peer-to-peer is not a solution that people think it is, where they're getting limited. So we need peer-to-peer, because if people are betting against each other, you won't get limited. This is like a perfect example. It's like if somebody posts some donkey line, you can't even get it. And if they're going to like say like, oh, this line is plus or minus too far off the market line, so we're not going to allow it. It's like, well, then what's the point? So I'm only betting against pros. And even if they somehow make a mistake, I still can't beat them. Why am I here as a normal person? It still has tons of values, these peer-to-peer markets.
Right. The concept.
For other things. Yeah. But for the bro who was using ETR's, picks and got limited and now wants to go here, like, that's not, I don't know. I still need to think about this some more, but.
And this is,
okay, yeah. What does Jeff say?
Well, he was asking, he said, was this email cancellation before or after the game? And he said after, which is, to me, that's the issue. Like, how does this has to get flagged
right
before the game as
so what
being
did
like,
Jeff say? Could you expand that?
Yeah, let's see. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Jeff. That helps.
Yeah. And so he says, and then someone clarified, I assume this happened because the other guy who posted complained, meaning he was allowed to take a free roll on you. That's an issue. And I understand that has to get cleaned up.
Has it ever gone the other way?
Right. Yeah, I have no idea.
Has it ever gone that somebody's posted the incorrect line, but got lucky and won, and then they voided it?
Yeah. And this is, Anthony in the chat says an automated, are you sure if you're an X percentage off of the market doesn't sound too complex to implement there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But like that, like I said, for the guy who's like a more recreational player looking to pick off some lines, that's not very appealing, is it? Like, you're like,
no,
how am I going to beat any of these guys? Because all these guys like, this is why I think they lean this way, is because the guys who post are their heavy users, provide all the liquidity. They want to keep them happy. Their whole site's based off of it. And that's the guy who posted the wrong line. What did Luke say? What was the market line? That's a good question. How far off was it?
Yeah. Yeah, this was Colorado at
And they
Dallas.
canceled it afterwards. I don't know, man.
I think that, yeah, I understand, like, if right before, like, it gets flagged, they're doing their final checks. It would be like, not to keep trying to like ham fist analogies, but it's like Underdog will toss out drafts, but it's before a contest starts. Like, once the contest starts, like, if you are sweating your lineup and then you find out that that lineup's not actually in the contest or is retroactively being thrown out, that is a horrible, horrible user experience.
Yeah,
I think it has to be done before the game starts.
This seems very like on behalf of the liquidity, the players who provide liquidity, and way less on the side of the guys who might like try to pick off their lines. I guess it's just like, use it for arbing, use it for, and that one guy makes a point like, well, then should I even use it for arbing if I can get it? If it's that far off, I might lose it.
Right. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people getting in here. If a customer can dispute void a line after matched because it was some sort of wrong line, doesn't that defeat the whole idea behind an exchange?
These exchanges, I'm kind of mixing up all their names. Is ProphetX the same one that had the issue 2 weeks ago that we talked about?
No, that was as this post. That
was Prop Swap.
Prop Swap. No, ProphetX is who we had on. We had Dean on. Yeah,
we had him on. That's right.
Yeah. So we
can.
Too
bad this didn't happen then, because then we could ask him directly.
Yes. And maybe again, like I want to. I think there is an opportunity to be charitable in that we talked about this a lot, right? With like, if you are trying to invent in the space and push, I don't want to say push boundaries, but trying to actually improve and make these products, there are going to be hiccups, right? There are going to be learning or growing pains. And so it's like, then how do you handle this? Like, can you come out and say like, all right, this was an unforeseen kind of dynamic, and now we actually have to have a good way to address this both ways. Like, I'm willing to give a pass if you do that. If you just kind of put your head in the sand and keep allowing this to happen, then it's like, well, that's an issue.
So let's add some details, completely making up that would make me kind of change my mind. Let's say the guy who provided the bet emailed them early before the game went off saying, this was a mistake, please cancel it. And they didn't do it till after. They didn't look at their email. They're just understaffed or something.
But needed to keep that guy happy.
But I mean, if the guy emailed them and said like, 5 minutes after he posted it, I put this under the wrong market.
Yeah.
That is definitely information that I think would change my mind. Be like, now maybe they should give this other guy a bonus bet or something. I don't know. Like, it's still kind of lame. Another thing it would be like, would this change your mind? No. Let's say the line they had there looked like minus 137 or whatever. What if the actual line was was minus 10,000? It was like a clear miss.
Yeah, right.
Because they canceled that at regular sports books.
Yeah,
I've seen that a bunch of times, and that seems fine to me when they're that off.
Right.
If it was minus, 150. Yeah, he got it at minus 137, and the game went through, and they never emailed them. It's like, I don't know, man.
And I still go back to some of the, like, it was the prop swap one too, like where I start to think through, okay, you fucked up, or even in your example, like a sports book hangs a really bad line, just like eat the cost. Just if anything, it's like, oh, now the rumors going around that you nailed this book for this insane number. Now you're going to have hundreds of people just staring at your site all day trying to pick off a bet. That's good marketing. Just lose the one battle so you can win the war. Get a bunch of people on your site.
You pay out the rando guy for the 2,300, and then you talk to your liquidity guy like, let me give you some bonus bets here to make up for, like, here was the line.
Yes.
You probably would have lost this much or something, $500.
Yeah.
Because like they still lost the bet, so they would have lost it anyways. Whatever they were betting, what were they supposed to be betting? What would that have been? And then give them the difference or something.
Right. Because again, like you said, we're talking about, even if they made both guys whole, I mean, we're talking about $1,600 here, and you get people to everyone on Twitter. You get a message going around like W company.
Yep.
Nice move, classy move by It's just like, come on. Like, I understand, like, sometimes for these, I mean, if we're talking about a $50,000, $100,000, like it's going to meaningfully impact your bottom line, like, okay, it's a tougher decision. But we're talking, this is hopefully a drop in the bucket to your overall business expenditures.
You know, okay, from marketing wise though, if they just pay this out, we never hear of it.
True.
Do they have to like cancel it, get it to go viral, then pay it out to get the marketing bump?
Yeah, you're right. Like this initial tweet from this user, Chris, who has 2,400. I mean, maybe he does tweet it out, but it's not going viral. It's not stoking the flames of outrage.
Yeah, I think when he responded, the owner, he should go, "Oh, this was an error. Thank you for pointing us out. We're paying you out in full." Yeah, no, like yeah, you know, something like that. And then you let it simmer, and then get the clickbait. But
I think that's right.
They don't do that. They always go, "Well, no, our policy is this," even though it's $1,600.
Right. I think you're right. I think what you say is you say like this was in an automated email or whatever. Like we fully appreciate the nuance of the situation and how this is a tough thing. We've made both of you guys whole. We want people to continue to trust playing in our platform, and we're going to continue to work to improve our screeners to make sure these situations don't happen in the future.
Yep. Or even if you don't want to deal with this, you go something like this is our fault for not seeing it earlier, so we're going to pay you out, but we will do our due diligence to never allow like a grossly mispriced line to be posted again. You know, so saying you're not going to allow it in the future, but you're paying it out this one time.
Yeah. And like, again, it is a drop in the bucket for these companies who are, you know, one thing, it's almost like the crypto thing, right? Like, you know, the whole point of crypto, like not your keys, not your wallet. And it's like, but that like scares the shit out of people to be the custodian of their own stuff.
Yeah.
They want to have the safety net of like the exchange. If something goes funky, like my money's still there, whatever. You are trying to encourage, you're like, all right, we're playing in a new sandbox here. It is sports betting, but like, there's no house that can like save you or whatever. Like you are almost trying to encourage people to take a leap of faith and try out a new platform or game type or whatever. And the second you sow the seeds of doubt or like, I might get rugged or like, maybe this isn't above board or maybe the bet I'm accepting isn't going to hold or isn't real. Like that's a really tough spot to put like an emerging business in.
I agree. And I mean, I feel like maybe there's more information, like I said, that we don't know about. Like they emailed them and they just didn't see the email or something. And that would really change the context here. But my bias, and I think you agree with me, even though it seems like some people don't like our point of view here, is you got to allow donkeys to make mistakes. Like that's kind of the whole reason anyone can win at sports betting or any skill gambling is you're better than the other person, even if it looks like a boneheaded move they're doing. And so fat fingering has been a thing in poker. And like, I don't even know if you fat finger a bet on DraftKings, they're not going to refund that every time, right?
There's a cancellation window at like the timer, but I think after a certain time, I'm guessing if you had the rep or you got on help support and you really kind of was like, you got to cancel this for me. My guess is if it hadn't started, they would do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think back in the olden days though, they're not canceling bets very frequently. If you place it, you bet it.
Yeah, and these are technically centralized peer-to-peer exchanges. Like what you want to start talking about, like a decentralized exchange, then you're really shit out of luck because that's the blockchain that's settling that. Like there's no one coming in to alter the blockchain to unwind your bet.
Really quick here. I know we're at the hour point, but like another lame aspect of this, especially for that marketplace, which is another bad marketing idea, is it is used, these peer-to-peer networks are used by arbors a lot. And so like, let's say this guy got this sweet line and he arbs it somewhere else. Well, not only does he not get the refund on this, he made that bet on another site to lock in his profit. And he just lost $1,700 or whatever.
Right.
So like I mean, the bet was paid, that it was locked in, it was live, and it was after the event. Like that guy could have definitely made other bets on that information that you're screwing him out of.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting spot. Maybe I can email Dean, who came on and see if he has a nuanced follow-up, to it. And, we can pass that along. If so, Brian, I got the ship chasing draft party tonight. We'll be live at 8 p.m. for the duration of round 1. I have not been up past 10 o'clock in a very long time, so I'm going to be in rough shape tonight, but we'll persist. Anything going on in your neck of the woods?
No, I'll be sure to tune in though and see what you guys think of the 10th pick.
All
if
right.
they still hold that pick.
Yeah.
No, what do we got, Pete? We got MLB projections.
Nice.
Over at runthesims.com. We are constantly editing, updating, and making them as good as we can.
Awesome. Thank you guys for hanging out in the chat. Yeah, soon to be sassy Pete. I don't know. When I get tired, I don't even know if the sassiness, I'll just turn into like, old man on the porch saying, get off my lawn kind of energy. I think last year they wanted to keep the stream going. I was like, you guys keep going. Like I'm going to bed. But we did coax Davis who also goes to bed fairly early. He's going to come on for the Chiefs pick, and they pick at the very end of the draft. So we're all going to be battling it out for the sake of, or toughing it out for the sake of content.
I might not bank on that, Pete. I could see old man Davis going to bed.
I think Davis's curiosity to see who the Chiefs pick will kind of outweigh the tiredness there. But yeah, that'll be over on the Ship Chasing channel tonight at 8. If you want to see, I mentioned when we were going through the Ball Mania stuff, I was doing that kind of walk down memory lane for my newsletter tomorrow. And I got all the old logos in there for the contest over the years, kind of a fun scroll. You can keep an eye out for that. And the P.O. Box newsletter, that's just the free newsletter I do every Friday. Drop it into your inbox there, rounds up the content from the week and anything else I'm thinking about. All right. Appreciate you guys. If you are tuning in late and need to catch this on the go, we do upload this to the podcast feed as well. You can always get your episodes there. And if you guys ever have suggestions, news items, we always appreciate when you drop those in the lolz Discord channel or tag us on Twitter. So we have some fodder for forthcoming shows. Enjoy the draft. We'll see you guys next week on lolz. Peace.